All right, welcome back to the channel. So this is going to be a really fun conversation. Oscar De La Hoya says that he wants to come back to the sport of boxing. Don't be surprised if he takes on the top guys at 154 pounds. And Jermell Charlo, man, that's a crazy dude, said he'd be more than happy to welcome Oscar back. Let's talk about that. All right, welcome back to the channel. Oscar De La Hoya, a once upon a time absolute beast in the boxing ring at between the weights of 135 pounds and 160 pounds. Really a beast through 135. I think he started at 135. He might actually start a little bit lower than that. Between 135 and 154. Excellent, excellent fighter in the late 1990s, through the early part of the 2000s, Olympic gold medalist, one of the top fighters there. Now, not the biggest fan of Oscar De La Hoya outside the ring, but inside the ring, dude, his career should absolutely positively be respected. Definitely worthy of the Hall of Fame. Terrific fighter. However, his ass is old, okay? And there ain't no way of getting around that. And him coming back to try to fight these 154 pounders is not going to go well if the guy is serious at all, especially if he's serious about fighting the top guys. Now, the top guy at 154 pounds, in my opinion, is Jermell Charlo, even though he does not have most of the belts. The guy that is the unified champion at 154 pounds is Jason Rosario. So, I think that Jermell Charlo really is the best guy. The WBA and the IBF unified title thing going on at 154 pounds has been passed from Jarrett Hurd to J-Rock to now to Jason Rosario. And, so that is just flipping back and forth between guys. Jermell Charlo is the guy that really has proven that he's the upper echelon guy at 154 pounds, been a champion for several years, has fought very good competition, lost a suspect decision, in my opinion, to Tony Harrison. But then, when the chips are down on him and people were doubting him going into the rematch, Jermell Charlo did what he had to do, and Jermell Charlo got him up out of there. So now Jermell Charlo is back at that weight. Now, Oscar De La Hoya talking about him coming back and fighting at 154 pounds. I think that it has a couple of things that are beneficial. One is beneficial for Oscar De La Hoya. The most obvious thing is that Oscar De La Hoya, gets to talk about Oscar De La Hoya, and as a result of doing that, keeps his name in the paper, keeps himself relevant. So if he is trying to build up and sell other fighters, that will increase his ability to do, or maintain his ability to do that, because that's really the biggest sell for Golden Boy Promotions, alongside of Canelo Alvarez, right? Canelo Alvarez is the vast majority of of the success of Golden Boy Promotions. They only have, as far as top level fighters. And by the way, rest in peace to the fighter Black Magic, that passed away for Golden Boy Promotions. That, very sad thing. And, you don't want that. You don't want to wish that on anybody. But they have Virgil Ortiz. They have Virgil Ortiz. What's the other dude's name? Jason, Ryan Garcia. I can't believe I said, what's the other guy's name? Ryan Garcia. But they got Ryan Garcia and Virgil Ortiz are probably their two best prospects. But both of those guys are, a pretty far way off from, becoming a big money earner for Golden Boy. And then you have Canelo Alvarez, who is pretty much, paying the bills over there. But so how are you going to actually be able to promote and sell other fighters at Golden Boy? Well, it is to keep Golden Boy, Oscar De La Hoya, the Golden Boy's name relevant. And he does have the star power and the name recognition of guys like Evander Holyfield, of the Mike Tysons, who are doing the same thing right now and at least that I believe, to build their brands. You have, Mike Tyson talking about he's coming back. He's doing all these videos, got in great shape. and throwing really heavy combinations at punching bags. And in the midst of talking about coming back, you see him also selling his podcast, right? His hot boxing with, Hot Box, Mike Tyson's Hot Box. Right, so he's selling that. He's also got, a line of, a ranch, a marijuana ranch that he's associated with. And it has several other videos. I think he's got like a rehash of a video game coming out. So he's using his name and keeping his name active in boxing, talking about coming out of retirement and who he might fight. Will it be Tyson Fury? Will it be this guy? Will it be that guy? Right? Just keeping his name in the press. And while he keeps his name in the press and making himself more significant and, keeping his name out there, he's able to then still use that celebrity to try to get the deals done, outside of boxing that he's working on. And I suspect that, that Evander Holyfield's doing the same thing. Evander Holyfield's talking about coming back, but yet he also has his own promotional company. I do believe he's got things out there related to the church that he might be doing. Right. He's got other, as a promoter, he's got other young and up and coming fighters that he needs to promote. He's got a son that's fighting. I don't think his son fights with him though. But regardless, just building his brand through the conversations about him coming back to fight. And I wouldn't be surprised if these guys ultimately do come back in some type of exhibition. I mean, why can't they do the same thing that because Floyd Mayweather Jr. is doing the same thing. Floyd Mayweather Jr. will come out and talk about, I want to fight this guy or want to fight that guy, or let, people see tapes of him boxing or whatever. And then, the conversation about Floyd Mayweather Jr. kicks off. And now you see that he's going to probably go over again to over to China to pick up another quick $10 million, for basically an exhibition fight, beating up on one of their kickboxers or something. Right. So, I see there's different reasons why these Hall of Fame level fighters are talking about coming back and talking about coming back, talking about fighting some of the best guys. Is if you tie your name, number one, you get your name in the press. Number two, you're connecting yourself to somebody else that's hot in the press, and it just builds up a lot of buzz around you. So that's what I think this is with Oscar De La Hoya. Oscar De La Hoya ain't been shy of being full of crap before. So being full of crap now, in this manner is pretty much a light order for him. Now let's just act for a second as if this fight was serious and they were really gonna make the fight. In their prime, great fight. Absolutely great fight. I think Jermell Charlo is the level of fighter that, is the level of fighter of the 154 pounders that were there when Oscar De La Hoya was, when Oscar De La Hoya started fighting up, at 147 and 154. Those type of guys you're talking about are like guys like David Reed, guy who else was out, some of the welterweights that moved up, like maybe Ike Corte at a time might have got up to 154 pounds, but then you have, 154 pounders like Winky Wright. But, Winky Wright, I think it would be great to see Jermell Charlo against Winky Wright, dude, a guy that is just steadfast right there, in front of you, but slips and blocks punches very well, versus a guy like Jermell Charlo who can do both, who can fight, who can outbox and can fight on the inside. I think that, Jermell Charlo and Winky Wright very well might be what and what. I actually think that Jermell Charlo might be a little bit bigger than Winky Wright. But Winky Wright was an excellent fighter that Oscar De La Hoya didn't want no parts of. You know what I mean? Didn't want any parts of. So I think that even if Oscar De La Hoya was in his prime, that, you'd be looking at the same scenario where Jermell Charlo might be a little bit too much for the smaller Oscar De La Hoya. Highly skilled, but smaller Oscar De La Hoya, especially with Jermell Charlo's mindset. So, I'm quite sure, even if they were in their prime, Jermell Charlo would have, I think it would be a good fight. I'm not going to just go out there and say I know for sure that Jermell Charlo would beat Oscar De La Hoya. I gotta keep it, out of respect for the things that Oscar De La Hoya was able to accomplish down there. Like, for example, the fact that he blitzed, what's his name? What is his name? Fernando Vargas. Yeah, that he blitzed Fernando Vargas, right? And that was Fernando Vargas who was juicing. But now, coming off that long a layoff of what has it been since? I don't think Oscar De La Hoya has probably fought since 2012, something like that. You know what I mean? Something like that. But it's clearly it's been 8-9 years since Oscar De La Hoya has gotten to the ring. So the idea of him fighting a Jermell Charlo now, no way. Unless obviously they've got some special type of new steroids coming up out of Eastern Europe, which I'm sure that they do, and he's willing to go that route. If he's not willing to go that route, dude is going to get knocked out. But anyway, I love the conversation. I love the conversation more for just the idea of, what would Oscar De La Hoya look like in the ring against a Jason Rosario, against a Tony Harrison, right? Some of these guys I think he'd be able to beat. Like, for example, if he was coming back to fight Jaime Munguia, there's an outside chance he might be able to beat Jaime Munguia right now, let alone in his pride, or maybe, in his prime. But nah, man, Oscar's shot. Know he's shot. Don't want to see it. But the exhibition fights, that might be fun to see. Maybe he and Sugar Shane Mosley can come out and have a third fight. But anyway, that's my take on the matter. You let me know what you think. Make sure you share, like, and subscribe. Also, thank you to everybody that supports in the Patreon, everybody that supports as a channel member, and everybody that comes by the live streams Monday through Friday for Fanon Live in the morning and OG Boxing Talk in the morning on Sundays. And with that, we're out. Peace.